Today, we are jumping back into Scarborough's reading room, and we are talking about background knowledge. If you're new here, my name is Anna DiGilio. I was a primary teacher for 23 years, and on this channel, we talk about all things reading instruction, structured literacy, and all things the science of reading research. So I would love for you to click that little subscribe button and that little bell next to it so you're alerted every time one of my new videos goes live. So as I said, we're jumping into Scarborough's reading rope. I am focusing on a series of going all through Scarborough's reading rope and how you can explicitly teach through the rope and make sure that you're attacking all of these skills that are underneath all of the upper strands of the language comprehension strands of Scarborough's reading rope. So we're going to get deep into the upper strands. I already did an entire series on semantics, and now we're jumping in to background knowledge. So let's get to it. Okay, friends, we are diving deep into the crucial role that background knowledge plays in learning and discovering practical strategies to really cultivate it in our students. First, we're going to jump into what is background knowledge. Background knowledge is really the wealth of information and experiences that students bring with them to the classroom. It's the foundation where new learning is built. They have to build on top of what they already know and the experiences that they've already had. Now, let's talk about why background knowledge is important. Let's say we think of it like building a house. A house built on sand lacks stability. Just as a child without background knowledge may struggle to really grasp and understand and apply new information that they learn. On the other hand, a house built on a solid foundation can really withstand many challenges. And background knowledge provides that real sturdy foundation for learning to occur. Let's talk about schema. What is schema? So this analogy helps to explain the building of schemas. Think of a schema as a mental framework that organizes and connects knowledge in your brain. It's like a web of interconnected concepts that our brains use to make sense of new information. So when students encounter new ideas, their brains integrate them into existing schemas, facilitating comprehension and then retention of that information. As we learn, our brain connects new information to prior information to build a schema or an understanding. However, if we have no or weak experience with a new concept, it's really difficult to create a deeper understanding. Imagine a child is reading a story about farming. A child who grew up in the city might have never visited a farm. The child probably knows about cows and chickens, but a coop? What about harvesting? What about germination? Those would most likely be very unfamiliar terms that a child doesn't have experience with. The child would have a weaker schema and background knowledge that might really impact the comprehension of that specific text. As a teacher, you might need to spend more time focusing on vocabulary and building the background knowledge so they have a little bit of information going into something that new that they're going to learn. So how do we ensure that our students have this essential background knowledge? There's multiple strategies to activate background knowledge. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3: semantics activities, before reading questions, and background builders. Let's quickly just talk about semantics activities. Now remember, I just did an entire series on semantics activities. So if you haven't watched that, definitely go back to those videos so you can see all of the different semantics activities that we've talked about. Semantics activities really focus on word and language meaning. Activities such as synonyms help children build meaning of new words. Let's look at an example. In this book, To the Vet, which is part of our Structured Literacy with E.A.S.E curriculum, this book is part of Sequence 1, Lesson 9, and it's focusing on reviewing some consonants and vowels. Now, when we're looking at this book called to the vet, students are going to encounter the word jig in this particular book. Now, a jig is a type of dance. So making a synonym connection can really help students define new words. So it's important that I would do a little bit of front loading here, again, with a semantics activity, focusing on vocabulary development prior to reading the book or the story, so they already have an understanding of that word jig. So doing a quick semantics activity on synonyms can really help with this building background, because by building this background knowledge of understanding this particular word jig and connecting it to the word dance, they have an understanding that jig and dance are similar words. So that's a semantics activity you could do that helps to build background knowledge. Another way of building background knowledge is before reading questions. In part of our Structured Literacy with E.A.S.E program, this happens to be Lesson 9, Day 2, and it's right here, which is building background knowledge. So it's right here, as you can see on your screen. We explicitly teach background knowledge in Structured Literacy with E.A.S.E. This particular one, again, is focusing on semantics, talking about synonyms, but then we also have before reading questions, because these types of activities before reading do a little bit of front loading with the story before you actually read the decodable book to the vet. Asking questions prior to reading a text really helps to activate and build that schema before reading the actual book. Providing time to think, pair, share responses can help students learn from their peers' prior knowledge and their background knowledge. So in this particular book, To the Vet, that the students are going to read for this lesson, what we'll do is we'll ask some kind of activating questions before reading. So again, we're going to say this book called To the Vet is the book that we're going to read. It's about a bat who has to go to the vet after getting hurt. So some of the questions that we'll ask is, what is a vet? Who do they help? Have you ever experienced an emergency? And then you might need to explain what the word emergency means, right? Again, asking these questions to kind of front load really helps students build background knowledge. One of the activities when you're doing one of our lessons in Structured Literacy with E.A.S.E or one of your own lessons with your own structured literacy program is building that background knowledge through vocabulary and semantics activities like synonyms in this particular example of jig and dance, and then doing some before reading questions. Those before reading questions absolutely build background knowledge. That's what we want to do. We want to build students' background knowledge before we jump into the book that they're about to read. Another activity that you can bring in is called a background builder. What that is, it's a brief reading that can help activate prior knowledge as well. So students, again, are being front loaded with information that can help them engage and comprehend the text better. So for example, in this particular lesson in our Structured Literacy with E.A.S.E program, we want to do and give a background builder. And the way we do that is by reading a little bit of information for a background builder. Again, this gives a little bit of front loading. This is not something the students are reading on their own. This is something that we are reading to them. We're showing them a picture. We're showing them this slide so they can understand and get a little bit of front-loaded information. This particular background builder is all about what a vet is and what a vet does. So you're front-loading some information here with a background builder. You give them this little tidbit of information that will help them understand the story a little bit better. That's what a background builder is. And when you're thinking about building background knowledge, it can be done with fiction or nonfiction texts, right? These strategies can be applied across fiction and nonfiction. It just doesn't have to be nonfiction to give background knowledge. Regardless of genre, activating that background knowledge enhances students' comprehension, critical thinking, and absolutely their analytical skills. By implementing some of these strategies consistently, really not only helps students develop a strong foundation for background knowledge, but it also allows to cultivate their critical thinking skills, creativity, curiosity. By it consistently integrating these types of strategies in our teaching practices, we really empower our students to not only acquire essential background knowledge, but also really develop a lifelong learning skills, critical thinking abilities, and really a much deeper appreciation for the world around them. It's important to nurture our curious learners through effective use of background knowledge. This was just a quick little tidbit of how to activate background knowledge and help your students gain some of that understanding to build their schemas, right? And build that background knowledge and activate the knowledge that they already come to the table with and then expand on that. And that's what we're hoping to do with building background knowledge. That's it for video number 1. This was a quickie little video to start you on your understanding of background knowledge, how to bring that into your small group lessons or even whole group lessons, and how quick they can be with your students. And they do not have to be hour-long lessons that take forever to do. They could be quick bursts of teaching, little mini lessons, whether small group or whole group, that can really be very effective to build that background knowledge for your students. I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, we're going to continue this series on building background knowledge. This is only video 1 in this particular series. So stay tuned for more videos in this series on building background knowledge. Thanks so much for watching. And again, if you're new here, please click that little subscribe button and that little bell next to it so you're alerted every time one of my new videos goes live. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Happy teaching. Bye for now.